take two, apparently. Just gonna move past the error message video I recorded a little while ago for you all. It's process. So, I just wanted to put a little video up about thank you for being a part of the course. Some places you might find me. I don't know how to function without I'm super expressive. I've been told multiple times, and not always nice ways. But I'm a former show choir kid, so jazz hands and face. So we'll work with what we have. So I wanted to just talk a little bit. Not required viewing. Anything of consequence is already written in the course announcement that this video is within. First off, before I forget, I extended the deadline for your final paper to Sunday, May 19th, because I always give my foundations class an extra week beyond what other instructors do, because I know everything is thrown at you right now. So more time. If you are, I know a number of you are graduating. If you're going to be at our college SOIS recognition ceremony coming up next week, it's in my planner, the week after, I'll be there. So please say hello. And congratulations on graduating. Jeez Louise. Made it very far. Oh, and I also created an agenda for myself, because we're not going to go off on a tangent. Stay focused. Just talk about what we need to be. What we need to talk about. If you are remaining here at SOIS as a student, I also teach the management of library collections course. I taught it last fall on my own for the first time. I've usually co-teach it during the summer with Dr. Tom Lipinski, who I'm teaching it with this summer. So it's a great course, because collection development and management is super fun, I think. And we get to talk about weeding. I love weeding. Also, my trauma-informed librarianship course is a go. I checked and paused somewhere between last Thursday evening and Friday morning. It showed up as, you can take this course. So if you're interested, or just curious, or want to know what's going on, I'm happy to send you the syllabus. I doubt there'll be many, just very minor edits from what I have now. And I'm teaching foundations in the fall as well. So if you haven't taken foundations, which would be odd, I think it's required for this. We'll move ahead. Okay. I keep going to my local library branch, pointing that direction, because the East branch is that away. And I've picked up a couple of books of note that LAS applicable, trauma, disability, ADHD, we're hitting all the high notes. Disability intimacy, essays on love, care, and desire, edited by Alice Wong, who is the brilliance behind disability visibility. It is on a great account to follow on Instagram if you are on Instagram. She also has a regular column on Teen Vogue, which they've been putting out some pretty fantastic writing the past couple years. So she discusses intersections of disability, feminism, class, culture, race, all the things. So ADHD Explained. I passed this up, I think the last 2 times I was in the library. The Toolkit to Understanding and Thriving. But I went for it because DK. And if you are my age group, I love DK. DK books in my public library. All those beautiful, great photos and descriptions of ancient Greece, Rome, Egypt, and just really fun archaeology books. So yeah, I've been reading a lot of ADHD books that are either academic or very deeply hardcore nonfiction. But this is kind of a lighter, explanatory. So if you are neurodivergent, or know somebody who is, or have somebody in your family who is, or just curious, I would recommend. Because so far, DK has not failed me. And I did see that also kind of in the middle of this, The Great Good Place by Ray Oldenburg, who I know one of you did your annotated bibliography on Third Places, which is where this came from. This first published back in 1989, and third place, or third space, it's not work, it's not home, it's an entirely different place. So it follows, there's a couple of a number of traits that apply to this. He focuses on coffee shops, bars, cafes, does not mention libraries at all in this book, but in an interview several years ago, he was asked what is one of the most important public third spaces right now, and one of them, the first one he named, was libraries. So it's just it's cited a lot within LIS. It's a pretty well regarded. I mean, he's a professor within sociology. But what I loved is, because I did a quick skim through just to see what was happening. And I think I've been reading, started on chapter 12, The Sexes and the Third Place. And I know you're not supposed to write in books that are not owned by you. This is from our library at UWM. But I'm assuming this is a woman, and she had some critiques, and I am here for it, because the further I read the way my perception, the way he discusses women, describes women, talks about women, is very 1950s, 60s feel, not, which, I mean, so she did some highlighting. Survival of the whole has depended far more on male cooperation and camaraderie than on that of females. Oh, indeed. Story time. And this third place is exclusively for women or dominated by women, and women have not been much in evidence in the United States, though women have had and continue to have an advantage over men in the spare time available to them. I don't think so. So, this has been libraries as a third space or third place has been a long established, or since this book has been a well established place or concept to describe libraries, because they're open to anyone, inexpensive. The focus is on communication, chatting, hanging out, and a couple of other factors. But there's been some critiques of that more recently, and I'm curious why. So I decided to read the source first. Okay, this is showing off Empire of Normality, Neurodiversity and Capitalism by Robert Chapman, who is who is a assistant professor at two universities, assistant professor in critical neurodiversity studies at Durham University. I should investigate that. Okay. I really enjoyed this book because he is I had some discussion about neurodiversity and the understanding of it and how it's represented within a working class blue collar perspective, because normally it's very middle class, the views of it, upper middle class. So as a working class blue collar gal, or upbringing, I was curious, and Robert Chapman is neurodivergent. He's autistic. And I think I seek out scholarship more and more from people who are neurodivergent and talk about being neurodivergent instead of having other researchers who are neurotypical or just not identifying as anything or not identifying as either. They tend to talk about the population, ADHD, autism. Past research has been really intense about this, leaving autistic participants out of collaboration or out of the participation and not really hearing their voices. So you're leaving a lot out of the data that you're collecting. You're missing a lot when you don't fully engage with that community. So it's always nice to hear from another neurodivergent voice. Like, yes, this is what I'm experiencing. Maybe you're experiencing it. It's good. It's great to see this coming out. And for my trauma-informed librarianship, I'm reading Trauma Stewardship, an everyday guide to caring for self while caring for others. Because when we take care of others, or mentally, physically, financially, any capacity, or I've experienced it, that you forget to take care of yourself, and you're giving everything, and that's where a lot of that emotional labor, passion fatigue, and it's really relevant to libraries because we are caring for others, service to our community, a helper profession. And Laura Lipsky is a social worker, so social work in libraries kind of go along. And final, Nothing About Us Without Us, which is, I believe in the early 90s, it was an established, or it became a mantra for the autistic community, because essentially they don't want research done without their participation. They don't want to be talked about without themselves being present in the conversation, which makes sense. You don't want to talk about somebody without them being there. You want them to be a part of the conversation and sharing and being real and honest. And so, Nothing About Us Without Us, Disability, Oppression, and Empowerment. It looks quite old, but apparently it was written in 1998. So reading more about disability advocacy, because there's a lot to cover in that. So that's what I'm reading for teaching and for my own understanding of my brain. So I also want to shout out, there's this YouTube channel that I've been watching. I believe I started watching it kind of when the pandemic hit. It's called Fun Day Fridays. They talk about, or Jen who created it, talks about fundamentalism. See how my southern accent slips on things. Evangelical, like very kind of out there, or intense religions. That she talks about the Duggars a lot, talks about the quiverful movement, if you're familiar with that. But on this last Friday, her husband, James, did an episode about public libraries, and he does a lot of politics sort of engagement within religion. But I thought it was fascinating, quite interesting. He does come to it as a patron from like an outsider appreciating, but if you can skip some of the political leaning stuff, or the outright political stuff, if that's not in your interest. And he does a nice dive into the history of public libraries and talking about Carnegie and a little bit more about the background of him funding libraries, why he did it. Not so rosy. Also, he interviews a public librarian named Dakota. I cannot remember her last name, but she was fantastic. And she talked about just what's going on in public libraries right now, what we're dealing with the censorship, with everything that's the fallout from patrons since COVID has been entered the world. And she talks about how she got into librarianship and why libraries mean so much to her, because she found books about being trans in her local library, and that was her first real exposure to what that really means. So obviously it was life-altering for her, and I think a lot of us can relate, or if you're a library kid. I mean, I read all the things. As religious as my parents were, or are, they did not limit my reading, so I read all the things. And it was a great experience to learn about the world beyond my small rural town, about different ideas, different religions, people, concepts, all things. I also, but he does say towards the end, he does come at it with some rose-colored glasses. He just said libraries are perfect, and perfect is not reality. And obviously libraries are wonderful, fantastic places, but they are not without their flaws, and there are areas to improve, to make things better for workers, patrons, the community, everybody. So that was one of my moments of, I met recently with the director, and she has quite a long title, Associate Director of Strategic Initiatives and Public Services at the Milwaukee Public Library, and I wanted to talk to them. I've always been concerned since leaving libraries and going into academics, the research versus practice that I'm missing out. There's a disconnect, and it's talked about a lot in LIS literature. Like researchers, scholars in LIS don't really know what's going on in libraries, or which is not untrue, and sometimes. And so it's important to me to keep in contact, keep one foot kind of in librarianship, even though I'm not working in libraries anymore. So we chatted about my trauma-informed librarianship course, because one of the big issues not just at their library, but at urban libraries in particular, but rural libraries, university libraries in general, she mentioned, the Associate Director of Strategic Initiatives and Patron Services mentioned that a lot of fresh out of MLS programs, new librarians come into the Milwaukee Public Library, and their expectations of their understanding of what is librarianship in that environment in this community in Milwaukee it's a bit jarring to experience all the many things that happen in libraries where there assault, drug abuse, some violent, just lots of serious things. So it was really exciting to hear that they are excited about my class, because it's going to shine some light on taking like self-care and vocational awe, and again, emotional labor, compassion fatigue, secondary trauma, just stuff you need to know when you're going into the field, particularly if you haven't worked in the field yet. But that's what's going on with me. Also, adorable little, pick these up at my local library. Milkweed seeds for the monarch trail, or monarch butterflies. I love the little seed libraries. So thank you again for sharing so much, for talking about in your discussions and your assignments, so many really making interesting points that I hadn't thought about, or maybe reframed some of how I perceived things. And also the program planning, so fun. I loved planning programs for any age, but I hope some of you take those programs. A couple of you mentioned that you were going to put them in place or have, and make those happen if you can, because that was great ideas. There's one on cooking that I could definitely use to learn cooking skills, the basics. Fantastic opportunities for engaging with the library, bringing people to the library, especially bringing teens to the library. And so I appreciate your effort in all your work. So please, if you stay in contact, you have my email, we can chat. Or you can ignore me and not chat. That's completely cool too. I hope, congratulations graduates and everybody else. I probably will see you around about on campus, not campus, online or on campus. See if I can teach in person again. So I hope you have a great, it's a very much right here in Milwaukee, it's a very Midwestern spring classic day. I didn't know what that meant until I moved here. And people here say the spring and summers, which are glorious, make up for the winter harshness, and I disagree. I can deal with cold, snow, ice, unending darkness, bleakness, weeks without the sun. That is a bit, kind of touches on the brain. So, I'll see you later. Thank you.